All right, it's blinking, so I'll go ahead and start us off. Good evening, welcome to MELS 601. This is your regular class session. I'm guesting tonight. Welcome everybody that's with us. I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. In each of your class shelves under the video library, under the town hall that I did on December 4th, 2018, there's a video, but there's also 4 documents that I'm going to cover tonight with you. Of course, this is not for this semester. This is in preparation for the summer. Now, there's no rule that if you have finished your APTEL that you can't go ahead and get started on this now, because there's a lot of information to pull together for the OMA. It's basically a data dive. And so, you know, we only have a 10-week session this summer, and you still have to do the OMA and the skip. So for that reason, we planned for me to come on next week, but y'all are kind of a week ahead. So Dr. Stedman scheduled for me to come on this week with you to get started on the OMA. So you'll see under your video library tab in your Blackboard shelf for your class, you'll see the town hall. You can watch that town hall video that I did on December 4th. You can also see those 4 documents, and so that's what I'm going to go through now. And so I'm going to start out with, from the MELS Scale Handbook, the third of the evidence artifacts that you will start with in 603 this summer. Of the 4 classes, let's see, 2 of you will be with Dr. Stedman, 2 will be with me, and Dr. Crawford will be coaching. So you'll have that, and Dr. Shepard and Dr. Hamilton. So we're going to try to keep you with kind of the same people, but I'll be the lead this summer. Since 603 is my specialty area, law and finance. So you'll be with us again this summer, but I'll be doing the lead. Dr. Stedman, did we say we were going to do Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights?
We're going to do Tuesday nights.
We're going to do Tuesday nights. So we'll stay on Tuesday nights. Now, there will be no Thursday nights this summer. We only come on once a week in the summertime because it's only a 10-week session. So you've got to hit the ground running, and it's also part of the intentional abandonment where we going to put more on you to do and less on us to do as we move through the program. So there'll still be 2 evidences to do. So you need to get after it pretty hard and pretty quick, and we have activities. Now, 603 is an activity-based course. So we'll have you going and doing a lot of things this summer, going to IEP meetings, interviewing people about budgets and interviewing people about special services. There's a lot of going and doing kinds of things, a lot of activities. Students tend to like that. I like it a lot. There'll be 4 case studies that you will present that are current event topics in law that I hope you will find relevant. We use those for virtual collaboration. You'll collaborate with your team for those 4 case studies. You'll do fewer peer review and more case studies as we move through this. Peer review serves a valuable function in the first block to get you up and going and getting you started. But as you work through these, you should need less and less of that kind of support. And we need to move you more into virtual collaboration, which is more what you do in the workplace. It mirrors that, and so we'll be moving into those this summer. Dr. Stedman, are you able to answer these chats?
No, I was waiting. I didn't know. Well, they wanted to know if they're going to be in their same Zoom teams, and yes, you'll stay in the same Zoom teams unless there's a need to revamp it. And then the other was, that's why Dr. Lamb is presenting tonight. If you know that there's things that you're going to need to do before school is out, if staff's not there, then you need to move forward and address some of those things now. Just like he mentioned, IEP meetings. If you don't have teachers there this summer, you may want to go ahead and get involved in an IEP meeting before school is out.
So what I'm going to do to that end, Dr. Dr. Crawford has made an excellent point here. Now is the perfect time to hit up principals for budget questions. So what I'm going to do is you're going to have 6 weekly activities and you're going to have 4 case studies. That will make up the 10 weeks. I've already got those 6 weekly activities planned out. Dr. Stedman, did I give those to you?
Yes, I've got those, yes.
So Dr. Stedman is going to share those with you. We were together over the weekend. We've been doing CAPE accreditation. We hadn't had a day off in about a month, and so we worked right through the weekend. I had class, and then we had the CAPE visiting team was here Saturday, Sunday, Monday. They didn't leave until noontime today.
So you want me to go ahead and send the case studies to them?
Yeah. And
okay.
So we're going to go ahead and share the case studies with you now. We're also going to share the 6 weekly activities, the going and froing, where you go ask this one and visit that and see this. A lot of those things, because Dr. Crawford just made an excellent point. If you've got an IEP team meeting in the summertime, something's gone wrong. So there'll be a few of those. Yeah, it's taking a turn for the worse. And so we're going to go ahead and send you the case studies.
No, I haven't been
activities to be planned for that.
I'll get it tomorrow, though.
Yeah, Dr. Stedman's going to get you that information out. He and I did a rough walkthrough of the summer schedule when we were together this weekend. And so we took what normally we do over the course of 16 weeks, and we plugged it into the 10 weeks. Of course, we have to do that every year. So we've got 6 weeks of activities and 4 weeks. Now we'll intersperse them, so you'll have at least 2 weeks to work on each case study with your collaborative, with your Zoom team. That will be your collaborative team. You'll have 2 weeks to do that, and then you'll present in one of our weekly schedules.
But you only want me to send them the case studies, right?
No, I want you to send all 10 of the weekly activities.
All 10 activities. And I'm going to email it to them with attachments, but then it will actually go into the core shells once we finish up with the core shells.
Yeah.
So
the core shells will be available, and we'll have them in there. But we're going to email it to you. In preparation for the summer.
Okay.
We already have all that stuff planned out for you. The only thing is, every year we look at it and make any adjustments based on the previous year. When you take a 16-week schedule and consolidate it into 10 weeks, there are certain things that accommodations we have to make. And so we do meet, and since I'm the leader of the 603 pod, we did meet over the weekend. We had some other of the 603 folks in. And so we have met, and we have our plan going forward to integrate those in. So we're good to go. We're ready to roll for summer. All right. So the OMA. I tell students all the time, the OMA is not about the ability to build a master schedule, a duty roster, a supervision schedule, and a school budget. It's teaching you, or it's about the ability to be able to build a legal master schedule, a legal duty roster, a legal duty schedule, and a legal budget. You can build them, but that doesn't mean they're going to be legal and they meet all the requirements. As we move into 603, now we're moving into the operations section, and I'm an operations person. I freely admit that the curriculum people are much smarter than me, but the operations people, we're the ones that keep you out of jail and keep you from losing your house. We can't keep you from getting sued. You will get sued if you stay in the business long enough. Our job is to make sure you win when you get sued. I know that sounds kind of crass and cold, but that's the nature of the beast. As you'll find out as we get into 603, North Carolina and South Carolina have tort liability. That means you can be sued for your house and car. So it would behoove you not to lose when you go to court. You're going to have to go, but you know the idea is not to lose. So the whole idea of organization management analysis, the OMA, is to do everything from a legal perspective. So the first thing that we have you do, and that tells you all about that, you need knowledge of legal requirements for planning and instructional time, best practices, best practices for mentoring and coaching, knowledge of the teacher evaluation system, the functions of a school improvement team, which is a legal group. It's called a school-based committee. You're legally responsible for it, as you'll find out when we cover General Statute 115C 288G. There's only 545 statutes, but that's the most relevant one. If you get to be my age and your memory's good, you'll memorize all of them. But that's the one you're going to need most relevantly, because that's duties and responsibilities of a principal. And all of these things that we're going to teach you are in that law that you're required to do. You're required to have a master schedule by law. They check it every month. It's called the school activity report. You're required by law to have a school improvement plan. You're required by law to develop and post a school budget every year. You're required by law to have a duty roster. You're required by law to have a supervision schedule. People say, well, what's the difference between a duty roster and a supervision schedule? Duty rosters is where people have got to be during the day on supervision, like the cafeteria, 1 to 45 ratio, the ball field, the gym, the hallway during class changes. That's the duty roster. Supervision schedule is for extracurricular activities after school. Those have to be supervised as well. All those things are legal. We'll teach you the legal steps in developing a master schedule that follows, first of all, federal law, state law, local board policy, best practices, and teacher input. All of those 5 are required. We'll teach you about your special populations. Now, there's more to special populations than just exceptional children. That's just one. You also have, besides EC 504, you have ESL and gifted, you have Title I, you have CTE. Those are all federal programs. They're all called special populations. All of those are, and your intervention team. All of those are legal requirements from 288. Knowledge of sources of federal, state, and district policies intended for school improvement goals. Your district also puts out a non-negotiable sheet. Guilford County is the one-sheeter. I've actually got a copy of one. They're not made public, but that one-sheeter from all your district offices has all of the things that you have to do in your county to meet their policy in terms of your master schedule. For example, how many minutes of math instruction, how many minutes of reading instruction. It goes all the way down to that. I've actually got a copy of the one from Guilford County. So you've got federal law comes first because it trumps everything else. Then comes state law, then local board policy, then best practices. Best practices are like EVOS, putting teachers who get the best scores out of certain groups of kids. That's part of it. That's part of best practices. And then teacher input comes last. And it has to go in that order. We teach you that. We talk about the accountability system with EVOS, student growth, legal requirements for accommodating exceptional learners, and knowledge of technology. So those are the things. And so here's what you'll be doing this summer with the OMA. The candidate will research and develop this analysis of school context at the internal and external levels to include demographic information regarding students and staff, and places this information within a state and national context. So we need everything that's pretty much in the front of your accreditation document about that's external, your community, the average income, median household income, education level, everything about your community. You expand on the background and setting of your community. We need everything from teachers, from your state report card, your test scores, your discipline, your attendance, highly qualified teacher certification. You need all of those things to put your school in context. Don't forget your achievement data. Everything that's on the state report card and everything that's in the front demographic section of Advanced Ed or SACS, whichever you use in your district, all that information, we've got to have all that stuff. Okay. All right. And then to include as well, the contextual analysis demonstrates an understanding of district, state, and federal law, but policy and district mandates that regulate structures and rules and procedures in place for students and staff. Pretty much all the things that are in your faculty handbook in terms of the do's and don'ts of your district, you got to have that too. We also need all the legal requirements for planning and instructional time. That document is, as I showed you, that document is here. We put that together for you, legal requirements for planning and instructional time. So you will need to make sure that you have that one. All right. An analysis includes critique of current structures and procedures in terms of equitability and transparency. That means that you've got to audit all of your the procedure and structures in place. That means you got to look at basically this is what's promised to all these special population groups, and this is what we're doing. It's kind of an audit. This is what they're supposed to get. This is what they get. And also, you need to look at your budgeting process to make sure that your school improvement team is involved in that budgeting process, because it's a big triangle. You can see the screen. The budget and the master schedule have to support the school improvement plan. That's, if there's one kernel of truth, if there's one thing that I want you to learn from MELS 603, the OMA, and your semester in law and finance, is that for your school to be successful, your school budget and your master schedule have to support the initiatives from your school improvement plan. It doesn't do any good to say we're going to emphasize reading this year and then build a master schedule that does not emphasize reading. It doesn't do any good to say that we're going to put resources behind this math program, and then when the budget comes out, there's no money in the budget for the math program. The school improvement plan is the living, breathing embodiment of your leadership as a school leader. And you cut yourself off at the knees if you don't support it with both your master schedule and with your school budget. So that's how task 1 starts. Task 2, this is where you get a break. So if you read the things that are required in task 2, they should be very familiar to you. They're basically what you did in the APTEL. So it's a simple copy and paste task 1, 2, and 3 from the APTEL. Take the APTEL labels off of it, and that becomes task 2 of the OMA. We did not allow you in the APTEL or the APSEL, we did not allow you to do something other than an instructional program in the APSEL. And then in the APTEL, we made you build your professional development plan around instruction. I told you at the time, you'll thank us down the road. Now would be the time to thank you. The state says that you have to do these things, but guess what? You just did them in the APTEL. You take the labels and the task descriptions off of the work that you did in APTEL task 1, 2, 3, put it all together, and it becomes task 2 of the OMA. You're welcome. Okay. Dr. Crawford just made a good point. Said he brought before his leadership team a proposal to move the after-school tutorial for grades 3-5 to completing interventions during the school day with daytime tuners. I can only afford one. So that's a perfect example of what we're talking about. Your master schedule is going to have to change. If you can't afford after-school tutors, you're going to have to make accommodations in your master schedule during the day. That's exactly what we're talking about. It's a juggling act. But everything that you do with your budget and your master schedule has to support the initiatives from your school improvement plan. Otherwise, you've wasted your time developing that plan. Now, so that's all you have to do in task 2 is a copy and paste of APTEL task 1, 2, and 3, because we required you to make sure that there was an instructional emphasis on those rather than some other things that you could have done. All right. So when you get to task 3 of the OMA, you'll develop an analysis of the existing school schedule. You look at the master schedule. This is the master class schedule, and you assess the current scheduling procedures, strengths and weaknesses of their group. Now, this is where everybody runs off the side of the road and hits a tree, right here. This is the biggest problem we have. This is the one area where people don't read the sentence fully. We want you to assess scheduling procedures, not just the schedule. The worst mistake that you could make if you get a bad master schedule is to start monkeying with the master schedule. Because if you've got a bad schedule, half the teachers are happy and half of them are mad. If you start adjusting it, then they all are mad. And so if you've got a bad master schedule, it's because you had a bad process that led up to the master schedule. Now, many of you in your building, somewhere in the administrative offices, there's a board with grids on it, and they put little stickies about what teachers are going to teach what, where, and when. I know you still do that. You're supposed to use a computer, but I know people still do it. The trick is who puts the stickies on that board and what names are on. How do we start the master schedule? It's supposed to start with your federal programs and all your federal law first, then all of your state law about length of class, planning time, duty-free time, all that, and then local board policy. Then you put that non-negotiable from your county in that we're going to have this many minutes of math and this many minutes of science and those kinds of things. And then best practices, that means we look at our EVOS data and we make sure that the right teachers are teaching the right kids in terms of our growth data. And then we get to teacher input and they can talk, well, maybe this kid doesn't need to be with that kid. But that's the process. That's the rationale. We call it the rationale for scheduling. You need to look at how the process works in your school. Do they start with federal law? Do they bring in all of the special POPs teachers and start with them? And then do they go to the state law, that the planning and instructional legal, the legal basis for planning and instructional time, all that sheet that we gave you? Do they then go to that? All right, we got to have this many minutes of instruction, this many days, those things. Then you go to that. Then you go to that non-negotiable sheet from your county that says these things have got to be in your master schedule. Then we go to our EVOS data that says Dr. Stedman was a much better teacher of the higher level kids than Dr. Crawford is. So we better make that adjustment in our schedule in terms of our course assignments and our pupil assignment. Those kinds of things, that comes forth. And then fifth, the teachers have some input into these as well. But that is the rationale for how you build a master schedule. Federal law, state law, board policy, best practices, which is EVOS, teacher input. Always that way. You're to assess your scheduling procedure. Are we following that? Or are we just letting teachers make it up? Or are we just taking last year's and start monkeying with it? Things we didn't like. Do we start and run this process as a professional organization? Then we look at our school improvement team findings. We make sure once we get this thing set, we go through all 5 of the steps: federal, state, local, best practices, teacher input. Those are the 5. Once we've gone through that, then we go back and we look, are we aligned with what we want from our school improvement plan? Have we made that a priority in our schedule? Alignment with legal. Then we check, do we have that number 3? Do we have that legal stuff in there for teacher collaborative planning and instruction? Have we met the legal requirements for planning and instructional time? Then we go back and look, did we do the, it's kind of a reverse review. We do all the review in the first one. Did we follow the 5 steps in order? And then we go back and look at each of those from the bottom up. We kind of reverse engineer it. We go back and look. Is all that stuff there? Input from the faculty. And then utilizations of these findings, and you revise the current schedule, which should be basically a proposal for next year's schedule. That's basically what you're doing. You're taking the existing schedule. We don't have you start from scratch. Look at the procedure of how it's put together. And then make sure all the 5 things that we talked about, there they are in bullets. Have we hit each one of these? And if so, these are the recommendations that we'd make to change the schedule for next year. But you got to look at the scheduling process, not just the schedule itself, the scheduling process, because the schedule is basically, it is a byproduct of the process. If you want to change the schedule, you got to change the process that led to the development of the schedule, not vice versa. Again, worst mistake you can make as a school administrator is just start monkeying with the master schedule. It goes really bad then, really bad. You got to change the process, and that will in itself lead to a better master schedule that supports the initiatives of your administration, your school improvement plan. You'll develop a new schedule or a draft of the current one that has recommendations and changes in there, and it has some narrative in there that says this is why. Based on this is why we would recommend these changes. And when you get that done, you know how to do your competencies. Now you're going to do 12. Just like you did when you did the app sell. You'll do 9 when you do the skip later on in the summer. So you'll do 12. Now here's the thing. Now you get to pick the 12 that you want to do. Any 12, and you write your competencies. So that's the OMA. It's the bulk of the time is gathering all the information in the first task. So I'm going to pause now and go back to the question. Heather says, that as a special ed teacher, many schools are very happy to have volunteers fill in roles in the summer. So there are some IEP. There's also a time for you to get some hours volunteering, helping out with those IEPs in the summer. Double check, this will be for the 18-19. Yeah, you'll take the 18-19 master schedule and you will do an analysis of the process that put it together, and then therefore an analysis of that schedule. And what you're doing is coming up for recommendations for the schedule that will come out in the fall of 19-20. Let me say that again. You analyze the current schedule that you're under now for this school year and make recommendations or for the one improvements, rework the one now for next year as your proposal for next year. All right. You don't get EBOS back in time to reflect. Well, in this, you're probably not going to get that data anyway because that's confidential data. Just know that step is in there. They're not probably going to hand you the data that says that, Danny's better than Jamal or vice versa. You're not going to have that. You just need to make sure that step under best practices, that is part of the process, that we do look at that EVOS data. Who grows certain types of kids the best? Everybody doesn't get the same results with different kinds of kids. That's a best practice, is to put teachers, match them with the teachers that they get the best, or the kids they get the best results with. That is a best practice. That will come out. That will come out later, and that's why that's kind of the third thing, or excuse me, the fourth thing in the process. The first 3 can be done anytime. That fourth one, we kind of wait, on that best practice. We kind of wait on that about signing classes. Okay. I've already answered that. So my admin is asking me to help them make the master schedule for next year right now. So you analyze the year that you're in right now to give you information going forward for it's now the time of year to start building for next year. We don't wait till August to build the master schedule. We actually start that process in February with the budget. The master schedule takes more than a minute. It actually takes from February to June to develop a master schedule. Saying if you do the process the right way, you start in February with your budget and you work through all those things that we've talked about. That information comes in at different times. We're not having you collect that information. We're having you make sure that that's how your school does it. That they take all these different federal, state, local, that's how they put the master schedule together. The master schedule won't be complete until June. So it's timely now that you look at the one from this current year in preparation going forward for next school year. All right.
That was good, Rosalind. Rosalind said her principal has already had her to do a survey to get input from the staff.
Yes.
That's great, Rosalind.
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of it. Now, we won't put that in first, but we need that data.
But she'll be able to use that. So that's the information you'll be able to use when you're doing your OMA.
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't always collect it in that order, but we got to have those 5 things. But when we start building that schedule, we have to start with the data that we have on federal programs, then the information we have from the state, then the non-negotiables from the district, then the EVOS data, and then the teacher input. We might collect them out of sequence, but that's how we put it together in June when we come up with that master schedule that we have to send to central office, usually by June 15th. In and around June 15th, we have to send that master schedule. Some districts give you to the end of June. And you say, well, what's the difference? Well, I'll tell you. It's according to when the assistant principals go off contract. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but that's the way it works. But I wish that there was some more theoretical or higher cause than that. But the truth of the matter is, in districts where APs go off contract on June 15th, the schedule's got to be in by then. In the districts where the APs go off schedule at the end of June, they usually allow them to the end of June to turn in their master schedule. Just that simple. It's just practical. It's just a practical piece of it.
Dr. Lamb, going back to task 1, they need to understand that task 1 of the OMA is very comprehensive. It's a lot of stuff.
It's a data dive, and
it's a lot of stuff. So you're going to, and the one thing that we're constantly having to send back, so make sure it's as comprehensive as it can be with what you need to put in there. But the budgeting process has been weak in the past, Dr. Lamb, with some of them. You need to be very where does the money come from? How is it used? Who does this? Who does that? You need to be as comprehensive as possible when you are responding to those areas.
To that end, on the screen, you will see an OMA from one of my students, Amber Phelps. This one, the reason why it's in PDF form so you can't copy it, but this one's from the state of Hawaii. Amber's a military dependent. She started with us in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and then got transferred to the Big Island in Hawaii to Hickam. Dr. Crawford might have flown through there at some point in his career in the Air Force. But this one is 71 pages long. And the reason why I'm using it is it's actually one of the shorter ones that I've seen that are this good. But she's got all the things in here that you need. Many of these are in excess of 100 pages because it's just a data dump. but Amber has she's kind of waded through it and weeded it out, and this one just has the good stuff in it. But you need to take 30 minutes and read through this one. It'll take you about 30 minutes. You don't have to read but about 30 minutes, and you'll get an idea of what the expectation is for you.
And Dr. Lamb, one of the things they need to be reminded of too, we look closely, your narrative work is a lot of data, but your narrative work and the transitioning is very, very important as you're putting all of this together for the OMA.
Yeah. All right. Dr. Crawford says it's a beautiful base at Hickam. Yeah, they've enjoyed their time there. They even bought a motorcycle to ride around the islands. Harley Davidson, of course, a real motorcycle. Dr. Crawford's a Honda man. Yeah. But anyway.
Dr. Lamb, respond to that last question that just came in. I didn't get it in time.
This is the format for the OMA. I notice it's a bit different. This is the format. It's the same. I'm going to go to the template is the same, except on this one, you'll notice there's no red. This one you just take and put your information in. You notice everything in black stays, and you just put your information in at the end of task 1, the instruction. At the end of the prompt, you start writing right there. But it's just like the other ones, except this time we didn't put any notes or we didn't put any example. You take this example I just showed you, and in your head, or if you want to copy and paste or do whatever, but you've got to start building one of these on your own rather than me giving you a template that's a plug and play with examples and all that other stuff. This is, again, we're making the shift away from we tell you exactly everything and where it goes. You got to kind of figure out where it goes. We are giving you an example. Now, remembering that when you get to the skip later in the summer, there's no template at all for it. You got to create your own. You can copy and paste just like I can and make a template like this.
But the information that you'll find in the video library that's already there, you will find all of that information will help you in the development of the OMA. There's a lot of resources there to still use.
Mm-hmm. Now, the question about this looks to be a different format. As I said in the beginning, 39 minutes ago, we're moving away. The first semester is about instructional leadership. C&I, curriculum and instruction. All the things that goes with that. You're making a shift in the OMA to operations. That's my side of the fence. Law, finance, schedules, processes, the actual operation, how you run a school. That's what you're moving to now. You have, all of you mostly have been very accomplished at the instructional part in the APSEL and APTEL, because guess what? You're teachers. You ought to be accomplished at that. Now, you're going to have to change your lens. You're going to have to move from one side of the desk to the other. Now you're moving into operations, how to actually run a school as a leader. That's very different than what you've experienced before, unless you're already in the AP role. You're making a shift to my side of the road now. So yes, this is very different than what you've been doing. Remember, we have North Carolina Executive Standards. You've been working on instructional leadership for the most part. You're now moving over to what's called, the standards called managerial leadership, where you learn how to manage a school, the operations, the day-to-day, what we call have school. Bell ring, go to class. Bell ring, go to next class. What we call having school. This semester is about teaching you how to have school, that everything runs on time and people are where they're supposed to be, doing what they're supposed to be doing. That's what operations is. That's why it's called organizational management analysis. But you're learning operations this semester. Operations is different than curriculum and instruction. It's not going to be as natural to you because you've not been involved unless you've had some extra teachers, some roles outside the classroom that might have involved some operations. You're not going to be, this is not going to be as familiar as the instructional piece was in the first two. But again, we're shifting gears to operations now. And the skip, again, it's on the operations side. The one that you'll do later this summer is how to get community and parent involvement, stakeholder involvement in your school. Again, that's part of the operations. It's not about instruction. We're done with instruction now. Now we're moving into some of the other areas of school leadership. We start with instruction because it's the most important. That's our core competency, is instruction. But we can't just leave you there. It would just be chaos if we didn't teach you how to actually run and manage a school. And you'd be in jail or lose your house because you do something wrong and somebody'd sue you. So our goal this summer, we can't keep you out of court, but we can keep you from losing your house. That's the goal, that you don't lose when you get sued. So yeah, this is different. You are shifting gears. You are moving away from instruction into managerial leadership. You're doing operations now. So when you hear one of us say, I'm an operations person or I'm an instructional person, that's basically the two types of administrators that you have. You have those that work mostly in instruction. When they went to the central office, they were assistant superintendent for instruction. When I went, I was in operations. I'm an operations person. Other people are curriculum instruction people. You kind of gravitate to what you're good at. I can make the trains run on time, so I'm an operational person. I appreciate curriculum instruction people. I freely admit that they're smarter than operations persons, or at least they're smarter than me. But I don't. But it's like herding cattle to watch them work, though. I mean, herding cats. They're not very organized many times. We're trying to teach you to not only be good at instruction, but to be organized as well. If you can't put some organization with it, then you won't be successful. Even though you might know instruction, you won't be successful if you can't put some organizational skill with it as well. So that's what we're going to try to teach you this summer, is some organizational skill. And then in the fall, we're going to work on culture and climate, micropolitical, how to improve the culture and climate of your school. And then we'll end up with 605, where we'll try to round you out with the politics of the job, how it all fits together. Dr. Stone will work with you then. And so it's good stuff. Again, we have a plan. We just went through CAPE. The MELS program is an exemplary program, by the way. It's not only the largest in North Carolina and South Carolina, it's the best. We are an exemplary program. Our graduates do extremely well. They get jobs and do well. I'm not boasting. It's because we work at this very, very diligently. We want you to be the best. We're interested in you and outcomes and how well you do. We're not just interested in getting through and covering the material. We want to make sure that you grow and develop, and that your characteristics, your dispositional behaviors, your skill level increases during the time of the program, so that you can actually do this job when you get it. And that's what makes us happy. Let me pause and get the chats here. Harleys are too loud for no good reason and overpriced. Well, thanks for that. Since I own two, I appreciate that. All right. Okay, somebody asked when task 1 will be due. You've got 4 tasks due this summer. You've got 10 weeks. So they're due every 2 weeks. So 2 weeks in, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. So it'll be 2, 4, 6, 8. So that's how it'll work this summer. We might give you 3 weeks on the first task because it's so big, but we'll see how it goes. And then that would give you, then we'd still get through a week early. But yeah, it may take 3 weeks. It's according to how it goes. We always gauge that. The plan is for it to take you 2 weeks to do that first one, but it may take you 3. There's a lot of information. But if you get started now, it shouldn't be that bad. Summer class starts on Tuesday night, May the 21st. Is that the right day, Dr. Stedman?
That's correct.
Tuesday, May 21st will be the first class. There's not much of a break between spring and summer. So within the next month, we'll not only finish this semester, have our break, we'll be back in class again in 5 weeks from tonight. We'll be back in class again for the summer. So don't look at it as, oh, I get a break. No, we're going to push right on through. You do get a break in August. There is a break in August. We don't get much of one now, but you do get a 4-week break in August.
Okay. Amanda, hold off. Dr. Lamb's going to go to task stream.
And there's a reason why is we have a 4-week break in August. We finish at the end of July so that you can get prepared and get back into school. We know that that's the busiest time of year for you is August, getting prepared to go back to school. And so the way that we run this program is we don't take much of a break in May, but then so that we can give you 4 weeks in August to get yourself. So we don't start classes in August until after school starts back for you. And that's purposeful because we know that's the busiest time for school people. So stay with us. It's a long haul, I know, but when we get to August, you'll have some time. Teachers normally take that last vacation or break in August with their family, and so you'll have plenty of time to do that in August. And you'll have plenty of time for your teacher work days, to get your room set up, to get your job ready to go, and then we'll start back for the fall. Again, that's intentional. We're school people too. We know how it works. I'm checking emails at the same time.
Dr. Lamb, will you be able to go to task stream and show them what is required in task stream for this semester? Some wanted to know about the submissions for their internship logs and what to do. And
all right, so let me switch servers here. And go in here. I'm going to switch to student view. This is your DRF, and it looks like this. So here we go, right here on the left. AppSell and AppTel both submitted this semester. Okay. Okay, Carla, I'll get it in just a second. Your competency analysis. Again, your competency analysis is not due until you finish task 4 of the AppTel. Once you've done that, then you can go in and do your competency analysis. It asks you about each of the 21 that you did this semester. You can do your School of Ed dispositions at any time if you've not done those.
I think all of them had done that. They just need to go back and do the analysis now.
Now, again, don't do it until you have finished both the AppSell and the AppTel. Then this summer, we'll do the OMA and the SCIP, and you'll only have dispositions this summer. Again, it's a 10-week session. So we have pared it down to the state requirement there. The CAPE requirement of competency analysis we'll pick back up with in 605. We got a full semester to do that. But that's what it looks like. Remember, at the same time, you need to be, at the end of the semesters, you need to go into your competency folio. Again, you go to folios and web pages. You've already created it. Find it. Find mine from the spring. There's mine from the spring. Go in and make sure that you add your 3, one of your 3 artifacts that represents a communication competency. Make sure that you clearly specify If it's a digital learning competency, 18 of these 21 have one digital learning competency that you must satisfy from the AppSell, SIOP, or open-ended. Not in addition to, one of the competencies must be a digital, and it describes right here what we're looking for. A competency that promotes and models positive digital citizenship, as well as practical policies for communication and collaboration with stakeholders to ensure responsible, effective digital teaching and learning practice. An email will do that. An example of an email will satisfy that digital competency. Where you emailed a parent maybe about a student, that's what we need, and just label it, you know, this came from open-ended digital learning competency, you're good to go. So there are only 18. That's why three of the 21 don't have a digital learning competency that goes along with it because they don't fit. But 18 of these have a digital learning competency. Don't wait till the last round to do all your digitals then. Try to integrate them in as you go. But you will have one round due at the end of this semester. Once you have done all of your competencies from the AppSell and AppTel, and you've done your 80 hours, you should have artifacts now. I want artifacts. You can write a narrative that tells me what it is, but you can't just say I'm competent because I did this, this, and this. I must see the product of that work. You can't argue or narrative your way to competency. Competency means you did something and that there's a product that you produced as a result of your work that shows your competency. Competency is based on artifacts, on things. If you had a parent night and you communicated, I should have an evidence of an email, a pamphlet, an agenda, those kinds of things. Those are artifacts. Remember, there's 2 documents that I gave you that shows where your artifacts come from. They're in your shell. Dr. Stedman can from open-ended, when you hold a parent meeting, that's an example of a communication competency. What I'd be looking for in terms of an artifact would be the program from that meeting. That would be an artifact. Don't tell me you held the meeting. That's wonderful. But show me the agenda. Show me the pamphlet. Show me the program for that meeting. Take a picture with your phone.
Dr. Lamb, there was a question. If you are in Dr. Crawford's C10 class or his C12 class, you will submit those to me for me to review and to give you comments on. If you are in my C6 class or my C8 class, then you will either send them to Dr. Shepard or to Dr. Hamilton. And Dr. Lamb, they should know which one of them
right. They know who's
right?
working with them. Yeah.
So that's who will give you the comments on your 21 competencies that you are storing for folio purposes and your 80 hours of internship.
Yep. Now, as I told you, we're dealing with CAPE, or they just left today at lunchtime. Our accreditors, we're CAPE accredited, and again, the MELS program is an exemplary program in CAPE accreditation. And the reason why we're exemplary is because we have you do all the right things, and we capture it all in TaskStream, and we have proof of your competencies. We don't just tell them that you're competent. We have this proof. So this folder serves 2 purposes. 1, for our accreditors to show your competency, and 2, for you to have a portfolio of work to show a potential employer. That's why we created it separately, where you can publish and share it. Right here, there's a button, top right. When this thing is done, you can publish and share it, download it, and it becomes your digital portfolio of work to show a potential employer. I'll show you one that we're using as an example now. Let me see if I can find it. This is what it will look like in the end. Oh, wait a minute. I need to do it a different way than this so that I can, let me get out of that. Okay, so when you share, you can send somebody the link, just like I had an error to send me her link. And when I get it, if it will open up, this is what it looks like. And you share this with an employer. Gardner Webb University, Beeson Gate, this is Anera's, and she just made this when she's graduating this semester. And this is her competency folio that she has made for potential employers. It was also to satisfy our CAPE accreditors that she's competent. So when you click on communication, she's got a small blurb, and she has highlighted which ones of these are digital learning competencies. And so both her open-ended and her SIOP example are artifact were examples of digital learning competencies. She's given us a brief blurb about what she did, but more importantly, she actually uploaded the actual artifact. And that's what we're looking for, is these attachments here. They're actually things. One of them is a video. They're things that show and prove her competency. And she did that on all of these. Look at what a beautiful job she did. And there they are. Some of them are links. Some of them are pictures. I mean, that's what we're looking for. But she has set hers up with a little brief narrative description of what you're going to see or what it is. Look how nice that is. Now, is that not very impressive for a potential employer, that this person is on the ball, they're planning, they're prepared, their work is above reproach, it's organized. This would impress me as a potential employer. I can tell you that right now.
Wow. That is a resume.
I mean, the old adage, you can't get a job without experience. You can't get experience without a job. I beg to differ. You can get experience during your clinical program. That's just as good as having a job. People understand that you got to start somewhere, but you have examples, you have artifacts that show that you can do the work because you've already done the work. This is very powerful in getting a job. Very powerful in getting a job is publishing this folio of your artifact. They don't want to read through all your evidences. They don't have time for that. They do like to look at pictures and videos. Most people are that way. And so that's why we have you do this separate competency folio rather than just putting it in your DRF. If we do it this way, we can publish and share it with our accreditors, number one, but more importantly for you, we can publish and share it with your potential employer, or you can. And what a wonderful thing that is. So that's what we're building along the way here. We're making sure that we're learning along the way, but we can demonstrate our learning, because this will all be for naught if you can't get a job. We're preparing you to get a job and be good in that job once you get there. That's our goal. Anything else on task stream?
Yeah, Emily just made a good point. She said she was on task stream yesterday, and it gave her options of different formats. She could use her templates. You have to go in there and you just kind of play with it a little bit, and there's all kinds of options in there.
Yeah, that you can design what you want. They have all kind of templates. When you go to folios and web pages, and when you want to create a new one, it gives you the option, go to custom templates designed by your learning community and do 21st century leaders. That's ours. We've got that preloaded. And look at all the different options that you have. There's different fonts. Customize it to what you like. I mean, there's one here with baseball on it. I had it put in here. Where's mine with baseball? There it is. Look at that one.
Right. But Dr. Lamb, you made a good point. If you take the time to do it right from the very beginning, then when this program is over with, you've already got what you need to take that next step and to begin the interview process, and you've got something professional that you can use.
Yes.
If you do it right from the beginning.
Yeah. You see a lot of people in the corporate world, young people, they've got their folio under their arm. They take in their work product, their work sample when they go in for job interviews. This is what this is, but it's in a digital format. It's much more modern. It looks much more professional. You look like you're on the ball. This is, we have collaborative groups of partners of schools that hire you folks, and the feedback is they love this. This is real impressive. You do know that we stay in contact with central office people, superintendents, HR departments, that we write references and fill out forms every day, and that we have collaborative partners, agreements with different school districts, different superintendents who sit on our advisory board, who tell us what they want you folks to be able to do and what impresses them when you come in for a job. So not only do we hit all the standards, and we have those listed in the grading rubrics, your evidence artifacts, all the different national standards we had you go through, we actually plug into the employment network as well. That's why our folks get jobs. We're intentional about that. This is not a theoretical exercise for us, and it shouldn't be for you. This is about getting a job. Dr. Stedman, I've run over my time 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, and I want to tell them one thing in ending. Your internship log, remember, that should be a professional document as well. A lot of people, I can't even read some of the stuff that has been submitted in the past, and I promise you, you need to make sure that whatever you submit to TaskStream, that it has a professional look no matter what it is.
We want your evidence artifacts. We make sure that they're APA and that they look professional. We use a common template so that they look professional. You're supposed to keep using that even when we don't give you one. Your competency folio should look professional. All of these things are seen by employers and by people in DPI. And this is what represents you. If they've never seen you, and most of them will never see you, but you're represented by your work. So what goes in TaskStream goes to our accreditors, it goes to the State Department, and a lot of it goes to potential employers. So that's why we work and we're so hard on you about APA format, good grammar, good content, the structure of your evidence artifacts. It's not just for us here at Gardner Webb to read. Those things go to DPI as well. And your competency folio, if you do it right, goes to potential employers. We want, and if we build it and we work this way all the time, it becomes habit, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that habit. Dr. Stedman, that's all I've got.
Yeah, there was one more question. I just wanted to let them know that for just most of you are finishing up with the APTEL nicely. You need to go back in there and make sure that you've cleared all assignments. Continue to do what you have to do to finish up. We will not be coming on with a class Zoom session next week. However, I will be coming on for those students that need to come on and ask questions. Those that are still working on things. If you've got questions about the APTEL or anything of that nature, so you'll get a link to come on next week at 7 o'clock. If you don't need to come on, you don't need to come on. It'll be okay. If you've called up, you finished your work, then you can use that time without having to come on, because I'm going to use it kind of like an office hour session. And then the next week will only be for anybody that I'm having to work with on an individual basis. So you will not be coming on anymore as a whole group as you are now until we start 603 in the summer. Okay. So pretty much that should answer those questions for that. But you'll get a link, and you only join if you need to join next Tuesday.
All right.
That's it. You'll get this sometime tonight. I'm going to place it, and Dr. Crawford will place it as well. We're going to place it in two places. We're going to put it under this week, and we're also going to put it in the video library where the other is, and then you will be looking for some other documents as well from me. Okay?
All right. Everybody have a good evening. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Dr. Lamb.